Good morning, Tony.
Morning.
So, my name is Tyree with the DreamCon podcast. So, I was trying to find your background and so that you went to Tupac School of Arts in Atlanta. Do you feel like with your branding that you are you were looking for that acceptance, or at least you were accepting yourself? And when you went to that school, do you feel like that was one of the first places you started to explore who you were as an individual, or was that a little bit later on in life, and that experience kind of helped you find a medium to kind of express that?
So I went to the Tupac Shakur Center for the Arts in Atlanta, Georgia. I trained there for about 4 years. Tupac's family, like his sister was my first poetry teacher, and poetry was the first thing that I wrote. So I think that for my identity, being a Pox kid, that was our program, that's what they call us. Being a Pox kid was very formative for me because Tupac is like unapologetically black. And when I was growing up, being black and a nerd were very difficult to do at the same time. So I grew up hearing about Tupac. It's like Tupac is like, yeah, that's like black. Tupac's like black. And then you show up and you hang out with his family and you hear about his history. He's like, yeah, he's black, and he was a writer, and he was a nerd, and he was thinking about all this cool fantasy stuff. So I think being in that program helped me understand that it was possible for me to be myself and that not be in opposition with my blackness. One of Tupac's poems, what he says is, I'm not saying that I'm going to change the world, but I am saying I'm going to inspire the person that will. And as a kid, that resonated with me a lot. And every day what I attempt to do is carry on that legacy.
Awesome. Thank you. Response, I hope you.
Hi, I'm Idealisticon from the DreamCon podcast. So, when it comes to your book, Weirdo, obviously there was a bunch of things that incorporated inspiration for that.
Yeah.
But what was like the key factor for you?
So for me, I think a person that was really inspirational when I was writing Weirdo was Jerry Craft. Jerry Craft is an award-winning black graphic novelist. He wrote a book called New Kid that won the Newbery Medal. And I think before meeting Jerry and seeing what he did with New Kid, I didn't know that it was possible for black stories to exist in that way. Very often when we talk about black storytellers, we talk about how much of a need there is for new black representation. But something that we don't talk about are the people like Jerry Craft, the people like Jason Reynolds, the people like Kwame Alexander that are pioneering black storytelling in the ways especially black men can show up in stories. So Jerry was a huge inspiration for me. Like he wrote one of the blurbs for the book, and I think those are the shoulders that I stand on.
Thank you.
Chad from the Future Hot Podcast. How are you doing this morning?
Doing well, how are you?
Pretty well. So you touched on being black and being a nerd and how they kind of conflict with each other.
Yeah.
I know for me growing up, man, it was looked down upon.
Yeah.
So that we got ridiculed, laughed at, everything. But I watch you and I see the positivity you bring into the world with your videos and your message. How does it feel to be able to build the things that you're building right now while being a nerd, well, from being a nerd?
The feeling that I have for everything that I get the privilege to do, because it's a privilege. The feeling I have for everything that I get the privilege to do is gratefulness. The idea that I could say anything and that somebody would listen, let alone 1,000 people, let alone 100,000 people, is mind-blowing. The fact that I get the privilege to tell stories, to me, means that I have a responsibility to tell stories that are the highest quality as possible and stories that are as socially responsible as possible. Some writers make things for themselves. They're like, this is for me. If y'all like it, then good, but otherwise, this is for me. The feeling that I have is that at any given point in time, I am only what my community says I am. So when I get to show up in places like this, where I hear from people that love my stuff, that tell me about how Weirdo is helping them relate to their neurodivergent children, how their teachers that are able to introduce the book into the classroom, that to me speaks volumes, and I'm humbled that I get the opportunity to be there for people in that way.
Jeremy Brown from the Future Podcast. My subject tomorrow wants to hear. My lady, why
I'm not Liddy.
They reach out like, hey, send more our stuff, and we like what you do.
Okay, so you want to know a really funny story? You know how I got this hat? I used to live in Washington, D.C., and there's a comic book shop, a small, locally owned in Washington, D.C. called Phantom Comics. Shout out to Phantom. I love them. That's family for real. And there was an employee at Phantom that was being courted by this really rich guy. Like, she really did not like this guy. And this guy knew that she liked anime, so he kept sending her like gifts. And he sent her a box of My Hero merchandise. And she was like, I'm not taking any of this. And she gave it to one of her other friends that worked at the shop. And I walked in while that friend was sorting through the box. And she was like, Tony, look at this hat. Isn't this so crazy? Nobody will wear this, right? And I was like, I think somebody might wear it. It's me. I'm somebody. So she gives me the hat, and I go put it in my closet. It's like, and I'm like, man, no, it's crazy. Why would I wear something like that? But when the pandemic started, and I couldn't go get my hair cut, my hairline was looking crazy. And I wanted to get online and make videos. It was like, dog, you can't get online with your hairline looking like that. You can't do that. No one's gonna listen to a word you say. The whole comment is gonna be, boy. The entire comment section. There's no way. So I put on the hat to like cover my hairline. That was the goal. Like, I started wearing it because my friend gave it to me, and I was like, oh, people won't notice that my hairline is kind of bummy because we're in the middle of a pandemic and I've not been able to go to the barber shop. But ultimately, it's become this like symbol for standing out, for like not being afraid to make a point, if you will. But I have one of these hats, so like I have a couple of them, but one of them is signed by Mount Lady. So that one just stayed, that one's like on my bookshelf in the back. So yeah, it's a fun time. Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought?
Thank you. What's up, Tony?
How you doing? I love those glasses.
Thank you, appreciate it. My question is just to reflect on your time here this weekend around Sunday, and following up with that, what is the dream project that you represent?
So my deepest reflection for DreamCon is that it feels immensely humbling and heartwarming to be seen and heard. When I think about people like RDC, like I was watching RDC while I was in high school, I was in college. You think about people like Caleb, you think about people like Vader. It's weird to like, these people are my friends now. Like, I see Vader and we hang out at events. I went to his house one time and I got beat so bad in Super Smash Brothers that I went and got my hair cut after. Like, I couldn't have the Super Smash Bros cut anymore because I lost that bad. Or to spend time with people like Cleo Thomas. When I think of success, I think of those guys. Like, those are my friends, but I also feel like they're doing amazing things in the space. So when I showed up to DreamCon, I was like, it's RDC's con. There are a lot of really cool, high-profile people here, and I'm just a guy with a hat. But since I showed up, I literally haven't been able to walk more than like 10 feet without somebody stopping me and being like, hey, I love your stuff. Thank you for your videos. Thank you for your book. I read your book. Thank you for the work that you do. And that'll get overstimulating for some people, but for me, I'm 100% humble for it every single time. Because the world is a really loud place. People are vying for attention. There are a lot of people trying to be heard. So the fact that I have the privilege to be heard, that's the deepest thing that I walk away from DreamCon with. This understanding that even though it feels like I'm yelling into a void sometimes, there are people that hear me, and there are people that appreciate what I'm trying to say, and I get to be a part of this community. And I think, like, when I was like 13, being a part of a community is like all I ever really wanted. So it's really heartwarming for me. My dream project, I think right now, we're working on the Weirdo animated series. I signed with the Gotham Group. They're a film and TV management organization, home to some really heavy hitters. And it's my hope that Weirdo, it kind of help lay the foundation for a really strong multimedia empire. That's my goal.
Don't make us cry.
Hello.
How you doing?
My name is Ron Leonard with Big Bro Building. It was a pleasure meeting you last year at DreamCon in Virginia. And I want to say I appreciate all the content and stuff that you make as well. Kind of following up on his question, when we look at your legacy as far as all the stuff you've done,
So, my crackpot idea is that fandom can be a force. Like my point of view is that the things that we're passionate about, the stories that we love, the thing that makes you get up and go buy a t-shirt with 1,000 Sunny on it, the thing that makes you start an entire podcast named after the catchphrase that is used when two characters fuse, that feeling, right? Like that thing, that can like change the world. That can move the world forward. And I think this weekend I got to see that impact firsthand here at DreamCon. Because I have my book, but instead of like bringing my book and bringing copies myself, I reached out to a local black-owned bookstore called Class Bookstore that's based here in Houston. And they order books, and they've been sitting at my table with me, selling books. And in the last 24 hours, like just Friday and Saturday, not even 24 hours, we were only at the table for about 6 hours between both days. They have made more revenue in that 6 hours than they do in the average month. Like a black-owned bookstore that's here local to the community of Houston, doing literacy events, supporting adults and children in the area, hosting places where black people can show up and be seen in stories, just made a month's worth of income in 6 hours. And the reason that happened is because fandom can be a force like that. In my head, that's the type of impact that's amazing for me. People are getting books. I get to interact with the community. There's a local store that's an institution here in the area that is able to live on, that's able to persist in a time when black-owned bookstores are under attack. That's the type of impact that I get really excited about. I'm like, how do we take that passion that we have for these stories and use it to create something? Because something like that, that's a massive change for that bookstore. They're gonna be able to stock more stuff now. There are more events that they can do now. And imagine what that does for the kids in their community that get to show up. Imagine what that does for the people that are looking for resources, trying to get into reading, trying to find stories where they see themselves. Imagine like the long tail impact that something like that has. And that's all because we're nerds. Like that's why that happened. That's why that took place. I don't think that was just me. Like I play a small role in the ecosystem at large, but I'm trying to play my role well. I'm trying to play it to the best of my ability.
Hey, you follow me from a partnership and sponsor team at DreamCon. What's been your biggest hurdle or struggle in regards to storytelling, and how have you tried to overcome it throughout your career so far?
My biggest struggle in storytelling is that the rules aren't clear. So I might be telling on myself a little bit here. I have not officially been diagnosed with anything, but I don't understand social cues at all. I don't get it. It doesn't come naturally to me in my brain. When I was younger, I would sit and I would study how my classmates behaved, and I would look at the reactions that they received based on certain behaviors, and that's how I understood in myself, like, oh, this is what it means to be human. This is behavior. This is how you socialize with people. So like when I was younger, it was really hard for me to learn social rules. In artistic industries, there are also rules, and I don't understand those rules either. And I'm trying to understand them, but as I seek my understanding, what I learn is that the rules are different for everybody. I've written 6 books that have been acquired in 6-figure deals. On paper, I am in the top 1% of highest grossing, most successful authors in the traditional publishing industry. And only one of those 6 books has actually come out. On paper, like statistically speaking, I'm doing pretty well for myself. But sometimes I go to pitch ideas and I go to do things, and the feedback that I'll receive is, oh, well, to do that, you need a name. Somebody has to be attached. And I'm like, oh, I do have a name. It's Tony Weaver Jr. Tony Weaver Jr.'s name is attached. Does that mean anything? No? Okay, well that's the rule. My name doesn't mean anything. Meanwhile, some white dude with 19K followers can get a 2-book deal for a book that he hasn't even written yet. He's a name, and it works. He's allowed to do that because he's a name. And he went viral because he has 100,000 followers. But I have over 1 million followers and 6 books under my belt, and I'm not a name. That doesn't make sense in my head. Like, it's difficult for me to square it. So the largest struggle that I have is I come up with ideas, and I'm like, the idea is good. Will they let me do it? A lot of people like you can go independent, but there are some things that for the scale that you want to go, you need larger studio backing. And it's possible to build that stuff, but there's a part of me that's like, how come that guy just gets to show up and I have to spend 10 years building the foundation from scratch to do the thing that I want to do? That doesn't feel fair. I don't like that. And that's what my struggle is. This industry isn't fair. It is not based on merit in the ways that you would assume that it would be. And sometimes, like, you can look at somebody like Carl Jones that worked on a series like The Boondocks that has been culturally relevant for the last 20 years. And Carl Jones can show up to do something and somebody will go, it needs a name. Meanwhile, if like Timothée Chalamet wanted to do something right now, they'd be like, ooh, what do you want? If Kim Kardashian wanted to do something right now, they'd be like, ooh, what do you want? Who are you thinking? We would love to do it. That's my struggle. My struggle in creativity is getting this industry to see me the way that I see myself. That's the struggle. And a part of it is internal. You always got to hold on to that self-esteem and self-worth. But there are some barriers that pop up when you're trying to do good. And I don't have an ironclad way to move past them yet, but I care about my community enough that I'm not going to stop.
Hi Tony, so we are at the Trio 706 on TikTok. We're amateur content creators, so thank you for coming out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think amateurs end up at press conferences. I think you're pretty established. I think you're doing a great job.
We don't look. We know somebody that knows somebody. So our question for you is, with many companies scaling back on DEI,
Yep.
have you personally felt the impact in the creative or funding space?
Oh, always. Hard-hitting question. I love it. So I think when DEI became a big thing in 2020, a lot of my friends got super excited, and I was excited too. It was like, sure, take advantage of the opportunities, but there was a very anxious person in my head that was like, this will not last forever. Do what you need to do. Take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, but do not trick yourself into thinking that it's always going to be like this or that this is always going to be here. Because if you think about it, DEI in the colloquial sense, like not the industry of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but DEI as in like some of these more pro-black corporate approaches that we saw, those didn't pop up because of black people. They showed up because of like white people's feelings. So George Floyd happened, white people felt bad, DEI happens, right? So it's like, cool, so we never flipped this switch. This happened because of how somebody else felt. And what I know about white people is that their feelings are gonna shift and change. So when they felt bad, we get DEI. And then when somebody's like, I'm seeing black people a little too much. Why are there black people in the animated movie? Why does the Little Mermaid gotta be black? Hold on. I empathize with y'all and everything, but why does everything have to be black? Why do I have to see a black person in everything? And those feelings, that pendulum start to move. And now, the same feelings that flip the switch one way are flipping the switch another way. And it's certainly something that I've experienced. I think that as an author, when I pitch books with black characters, there's this understanding of like, man, is the book gonna hit the market at a time when people are okay with black characters, or is it gonna hit the market at a time where you get death threats for black characters? We don't know. And for graphic novels, they take a few years to make, so they gotta look into their crystal ball and be like, I'm actually unclear. No one overtly to my face has said to me, oh, we're not giving you this funding because of DEI. But I will say that when we submit for funding opportunities and when we talk about our work, the way that we talk about it has certainly shifted because unfortunately there's an elephant in the room that needs to be accommodated. What I deeply believe though is that corporations are not people. People say like, oh, well, this corporation believes this or this corporation believes that. It's like, that's not really what it is. Corporations are like ant hives or like ant hills. And within any corporation, there are people that feel one way, there are people that feel another way. And the people that want to do good are going to find a way to do good. You just got to be in the position to play ball to make sure that you can both accomplish the thing that you want to accomplish. I ain't gonna call nobody out, but we have like corporate sponsors that we work with where it's like, I'm gonna get you what you need to get. I'm gonna make sure that you can do the work that you need to do. But for it to get past my desk and past my boss's desk and past legal's desk and past PR's desk, you gotta say it like this. And ultimately, I'm like, well, that's what I was doing before 2020. So it's fine. That's what I was doing anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's actually, we are pretty much at time, so thank you, Tony, for your time today.
Thank you all so much for your support.
Thank you all for coming out and having a party session.
Beats by Dino.